All right, we've got, clock says 5:30. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Mr. Kurtz, if you don't mind, would you please call roll? For this time, I know you're temporarily filling in now that she's retired. We've got a general public comment period, but this applies to all public comment. Citizens are allowed to make public comment on any agenda item, and in a moment on anything not on the agenda. You get 3 minutes. If you choose to speak now, you won't be able to speak again on an actual agenda item. So with that, we'll open up the general public comment. If anybody has anything to say not pertaining to an agenda item, please come up. Seeing none, we will close general public comment and move on to approval of absences for the February 5th meeting. Commissioner Hedrick.
Make a motion that we approve the absence of Commissioner Hedrick.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that motion passes. And moving on into approval of minutes for the February 5th meeting.
I make a motion, this is Commissioner Mandel, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from February 5th, 2025.
I second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that motion passes. Moving on to the consent public hearing, items A and B. I've got some abstentions for myself, so I will be splitting this up. We're going to go ahead and start with items number...
Who addressed them? Who addressed them?
Thank you, Andrew. Commissioners have any questions for staff on items 3 and 4? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and open up the public comment for items 3 and 4. Seeing none, we will close the public comment and entertain a motion for items 3 and 4.
I make a motion that we pass items 3 and 4 as presented by staff.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Moving on to items 2, 5, and 6, and I will be abstaining.
Okay, Mr. Andrew.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Starting with number 3, Nueces Gardens number 1, lots, Two. Hello. Country Estate Subdivision number 2, Block 2, lots 18 through 24. And item number 5 is Water Beach Addition, Block 6, lots 1A and 2A. Of those two plats, staff also recommends approval as the plats are consistent with the Texas Local Government Code as well as the UDC. Under item B, number 6, zoning case ZN 8332, Golden Point LLC, which is in District 4. The request is from the CR2 Resort Commercial District with an island overlay, to the CR2IO PUD Resort Commercial District with an island overlay and a planned unit development overlay. Staff also recommends approval on this item. That concludes tonight's consent agenda. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Okay. Commissioners, do we have any questions on items 2, 5, and 6 for staff? If none, then...
I have a question. Could you go through the presentation on item number 6? Sure.
All right, let's get this party going. Okay, so if I'm hoping it's on all of your screens. Zoning case ZN 8332. Again, this is Golden Point LLC in District 4. The location is on North Padre Island. The request again is from the CR2 with the IO to the CR2IO PUD. No, that's a mouthful, but it's essentially meaning it's a resort commercial district and it has the island overlay, and they're asking to apply the PUD overlay on top of that. So the proposed use is, and I'll have the site plans up in a second. to allow a planned unit development. Again, it's in the ADP area for Mustang and Padre Island. It is a mixed use, future land use map designation, and of course, the existing zoning district will remain the base zoning. Adjacent land uses on two sides, you have water, and then you have some vacant areas, some wetland areas that are also zoned CR2IO. To the south, we have some existing commercial lots that have been previously zoned and designed. And then at the very bottom of the screen where you see Packering Point Drive, there is a Starbucks and a Sonic, also zoned commercial resort. All of these are consistent, of course, with their zoning district. Of the 5 notices sent out within that 200-foot buffer, we received 0 in favor and 0 in opposition. Now we get into, as you know, we have a deviation table with every PUD. So for those who haven't spent a lot of time with PUDs, it's probably the most complicated of all the zoning requests you'll see. And the reason is it's essentially creating a very small zoning ordinance for a specific site where you can deviate from the restrictions set by the UDC. So in this case, that proposal has a breakdown of what are the exact deviations away from the UDC again. So we have 29 single-family proposed homes, we have 16 proposed townhomes, 2 common open areas, and then, of course, that wetland area. Now, here is the actual deviations. On the left-hand side of the screen are for your single-family homes. On the right side of these columns are the townhouses. There is not the standard for the CR district. It doesn't allow single-family homes by right. So allowing it in itself is a deviation. Typical single-family homes, even at our smallest lots throughout the city, are RS 4.5. Those are 4,500 square foot, so we're stepping down 1,000 square feet to 3,500 square foot. If we were to compare this to the RS 4.5 district, it is the same minimum lot width. Instead of a 20-foot street yard, it would be a 10 in this PUD. The 10-foot corner instead of a 15. You have the same side yards, and in fact, this has a greater rear yard requirement of 10 feet instead of 5. Minimum open space, this actually has a greater requirement than what the UDC holds at 25, I believe, on RS 4.5, and then the max height is the same as if you compared it to RS 4.5. On the right-hand side of the screen, the UDC standard for townhomes is 2,600 square feet for front access townhomes. They're asking to reduce that by only a whopping 100 square feet. So instead of 2,600, it's 2,500. The reduction is greater on minimum lot width, so there's not technically a deviation. Same goes with street yards. So you see some consistency and, in fact, a greater requirement that is being self-imposed other than that minimum lot size by the applicant. When we get into the other standards and deviations, there's addressing right-of-way where you're going from 46 feet to 37. You're seeing a planting utility area. That's where we've heard in past meetings about doing tied sidewalks. I know there was some confusion about that the last go-around. So this is a reduced planting area of 2 feet instead of 7. It is the same street width section as any other residential street at 28 feet wide. Of course, you have the required sidewalk width. It is not uncommon in townhouse developments to not see a sidewalk. We see that time and time again with other PUDs that have been passed and have worked successfully in the North Padre Island area, especially on landward and windward and leeward. And then covering the marina, park, and coastline, there are some slight deviations, allowing parking on one side of the street. Again, same street size, and then right-of-way widths are slightly smaller, and a reduced planting and utility area. Now, this section is coming out of Section 8 of the UDC when it comes to street design standards. Now, based on staff analysis and recommendation, after we review a pretty large packet, analyze the deviations, look at the fabric of the neighborhood, is it consistent with the future land use map, and is it consistent with the area development plan? We feel as staff it does check all of those boxes. It is consistent. It is consistent again with the nature of the area, the consistency with the area development plan, as well as future land use map. Therefore, we are recommending approval. And that concludes the presentation.
But you said it's inconsistent with the future land use map.
Because technically it's a mixed use, but taking a step back, there's always a debate on does mixed use mean purely on the site itself, where you have to have commercial and residential, but just to the south, you have a whole host of commercial developments. I prefer to take more of a holistic view of an area as more like a quadrant. Yes, you do have a mixture of commercial. We have to technically answer on the specific site, is it consistent or not? But when we present it to council, we explain, when you take that 30,000-foot view a step back, you are seeing hotels, restaurants, commercial, with just this project to the north that is more purely residential.
And the property is currently probably 40% water. How does that work?
They will have to address the latest FEMA standards for elevations. They will have to address any type of wetland issues with the Corps, have letters of determination of how much fill can be brought in to the elevation of the heights on the structures to meet those FEMA standards. So yes, it can be done. It's not simple nor is cheap, but it is possible.
And is it normal to move forward with well, I guess this is just a zoning, but is it normal to do it in this order?
We always set the land use first, so it's no different than you host a dinner party, you set the table first, where is everyone going to sit? So land use does the exact same thing. We're asking the question, is this use allowed and consistent with this area? Then the platting is going to happen to address wetlands. Step after that, building permit to address those elevations on structures themselves.
And does the PUD expire like a special permit?
It has a 2-year lifespan. If no progress happens in 2 years, that includes submitting the plat, pulling building permits, construction of public improvements, the PUD then dies.
Okay. That's all I got.
Sorry. If not, then I'll close a public comment and entertain a motion.
I move that we approve items 2, 5, and 6 as presented by staff.
I have a motion. We have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes.
Just, I'm helping Robbie out with the minutes. Who made the second? Okay, great, thank you.
All right. That takes care of the consent agenda items A and B. We're going to move on to item number 7.
Ready for a redundant question?
That's fine by me. Like I said, I'm going to have a not so pleasant conversation that they're not going to enjoy tomorrow of punctuality with the Planning Commission. Nevertheless, okay, so let's take a shot at this. So I do have some experience playing with the UTP. I wouldn't call myself a maven, but at least this is my second rodeo, not my first. So back on January 30th of 2024, Council adopted the roadway master plan. Of course, that was part of the Pape-Dawson study. I won't say the dirty word of impact fees, but it was the first step to get us on that great path, which I still have hope will someday resurrect and will pass. The UTP was replaced by the roadway master plan. So we have an instance in which both plans have now been integrated. The reason for that is the roadway master plan only covered the network inside of the city limits. Anything outside the city limits still has its tentacles in the UTP. So both had to be merged together for it to be an effective document. Staff presented back in December of 24 a proposed deletion identified with this roadway as a pedestrian beach access that was reclassified as a C1 collector on the roadway master plan. That is extremely tiny font, but the gist of it is on the left-hand side of your screen is the map of all of the beach access roads on the right-hand side of the screen. starting with 18I all the way up to 18H. All of those lines are how we access today on a map purely, not in reality, all of those beach access roads. Here is a closer view of the site. And quick to say, the Traffic Engineering Department of Public Works is recommending deletion of the item from the roadway master plan. And I will do my best to field any questions you have.
I have one, I don't know if you know the answer to this or not, but when, obviously, traffic looked at it, they're the ones making the recommendation. Do you know, is there, like, the beachfront area, like, planning department, did they look at this as well? I know it's different offices, so sometimes they don't get circulated. I'm just curious.
I'm not sure that planning would look at it outside. Planning did used to do the UTP amendments, so I believe they have a shot at it. Similar how we have plats go to TRC, everybody gets a peek at it. I can't 100% confirm that planning would take a look at it, but it's usually the first step, just as we send plats to planning as our first review when it comes to plats.
Okay. Appreciate that. Yeah, that's how they used to do it. I know things have kind of shifted, so I'm just kind of curious. You have a question?
I asked you before the meeting, we've already heard this.
Right. I am not sure why the redundancy other than.
I think I insist. So when the last time we came here, Public Works initially said it was just like a trail, I believe, but the master plan had been updated during the recent master plan update.
It went from pedestrian to a C1.
Right.
So to remove it formally from, where Buck's going, remove it formally from the roadway master plan as a C1, it requires this amendment.
Okay.
Instead of the pedestrian access that was on the former UTP.
Because whenever we heard this before, nobody could really identify what pedestrian beach access meant.
It doesn't have a cross-section.
That's correct. The previous plan called it that pedestrian access thing that we don't have a definition for, but in the recent update, it was updated to, I believe, a C1.
Correct.
Somebody fix that mistake real quick.
Well, we had discussions about it, and it was explained to us, well, it could be like a trailhead where you parked out on 361 and hiked across the dunes, or it could be a boardwalk or a footpath or a C1 collector.
The hard part of not having a design standard, which is, getting into what the UDC is today and part of those amendments, is that in Section A of the UDC, it tells you exactly a C1 collector is 40 feet of pavement, 60 foot of right-of-way. Residential is 50 foot of right-of-way, 28 foot of pavement. A beach access road does not have a cross-section. So when it comes to, I'm showing a beach access road on my plat, I have nothing to compare it against it in code to say, yes, you are compliant. Because it could be a 20-foot path. Does it have to withstand the weight of a fire truck? Does it have to check all boxes? Does it have to have fire protection? We don't know because there's not a standard for it. And so I think that was one of the reasons why the roadway master plan converted them to C1s to compare it to a standard in the UDC today that's enforceable.
And from an entitlement standpoint, if I'm a property owner and I buy this property and on the survey that I received from the seller, it says that there's this pedestrian access, how do you quantify that?
It's like an unfunded mandate. It's saying, yes,
Right.
you must designate and dedicate, but doesn't tell you how wide and how it must be constructed because we don't have a standard detail to compare it against.
And if let's say this does not get granted, does the applicant have to build that road if they,
It will remain as a C1. Yeah.
and they'll
Well,
have to construct it on their dime?
in this case, it's on the edge of property, so half would be one responsibility and half would be this property owner's responsibility.
Okay.
I
But the
clarifying
neighboring
question.
property is already developed, isn't it?
I hear some of the owners in the background, so I think they'll be
Yeah,
able
I
to
think they're
comment
saying it's
better.
all on their property. Clarifying question, you said an update was put out. Are you saying Pape Dawson put an update out to their roadway master plan? And they changed beach access roads to be C1 collectors? Or
No, just that what was that term we used? The
urban transportation plan had it as beach access when
Beach-
the roadway master plan
no
was
pedestrian
adopted.
it was a pedestrian.
There's Renee.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to know what the update was and if it was just for this case,
it was
this
just-
street, or if it was a broad,
It was
like
for
are all the beach access roads C1 collectors now?
It
or-
was for that beach access road for that pedestrian, whatever that term was that they used.
Right. I will gracefully exit stage right.
Thank you, Andrew.
Sorry, my apologies. So Renee Couture with Public Works and Traffic. So had you started the presentation already?
Yeah, he went through it, and Buck was trying to explain, I guess, because Commissioner Miller asked that we've already seen this, and they said there was a change in the master plan, I guess, to change this to a C1, and what I was just asking is what exactly was the update to the master plan?
For some background, right, let me go back to the first slide. So Pete Dawson, they went to council last year, and they worked on a master plan for stormwater, roadway, and the utilities, right? And in that, when they updated the master plan for transportation, it was renamed, at least within the city limits, to the roadway master plan. So they identified projects that potentially could have impact fees attached to them and other projects that were non-impact fees. When we updated the ordinance in January, we also, because the impact fees could only affect streets within the city limits, they combined what was the old transportation plan that was city and ETJ and combined, and so what was updated was just in city limits. So our ordinance states that now our master plan is a combination of, quote, the roadway master plan that was in city limits and updated with whatever's in the ETJ, if that makes sense. So when we presented this the last time to y'all, unfortunately, what was referenced was the old legacy UTP. And because this particular project was in city limits, it got updated from what was presented as a beach access road to a collector one. So after the presentation and talking to legal, what they wanted us to come back, we're still sticking with the recommendation to delete, but we wanted to clarify the changes that were made and that making sure that y'all are still okaying the deletion, knowing that it was, quote, a collector street per this roadway master plan, as opposed to a beach access road, which was part of that legacy.
Renee, I think beach access, it was a pedestrian beach access.
Pedestrian beach access, sorry. But as compared to what it is now, a collector street, that potentially could have impact fees attached to it if that were ever to go that route. But staff is still supporting, like I said, the deletion of this roadway.
Okay, thank you. So this is coming back because of staff, and just to make sure that we understand what we're voting on. It's not just changed after we voted.
Correct. It wasn't it had existed,
Right.
but it was just presented incorrectly.
Yeah, understand.
Yeah.
At the last meeting, Renee, I remember we had an exchange and you couldn't clearly define what that was.
Yes. And that, based on the new roadway master plan, that classification doesn't exist.
Okay.
Most of these streets in this area that were previously like the pedestrian access that were classified, they were upgraded to collector streets. Same right-of-way width, but a collector, I guess, bears a different type of roadway geometry as opposed to something that's a pedestrian access.
Commissioners have any other questions?
I have a comment, basically. So nothing has changed. We kind of made the decision last time knowing that there was other opportunities for somebody to have access to the beach. So nothing has changed other than terminology. Is that correct?
Correct.
Well,
They've just defined what it is.
something has very much changed.
Well, okay, well,
Yeah.
Last time we voted to recommend deleting a pedestrian beach access that was undefined. I think they kind of talked about it being a 60-foot right-of-way, but nobody really knew exactly what it was, if there was a street, sidewalk, what it was. Now it's defined as a 60-foot right-of-way, 40-foot street, 5-foot sidewalks, I presume. I don't know, but now it's defined.
but what I meant is that nothing has changed as far as other access for people to go from the road to the beach, correct?
Correct. Same cases, they've just defined what's being deleted. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the last time, it was, my concerns have always been is I can't support any kind of, restriction of beach access, right? And there's a reason why these were laid out as such, because we need access as that strip of land continues to become developed and built up. you see a lot, especially since COVID, increased traffic to the beach. And all of that traffic gets directed to, a finite number of beach access roads. And as we continue to bring in more development and everything along the strip of 361, the beach access becomes, more and more congested. And we see issues with, vehicles coming out off the beach, back onto 361. And I know 361 is going to look completely different in the next 10 years. But I did not support this last time, and I won't support it again just for that. But I think it's good that we've clarified what that was, because we were talking about it's probably just a trailhead on 361 where people hike across the dunes.
Yeah.
But no, this is in the UTP and the Urban Transportation Plan as a C1 collector beach access road for the future. So I won't be supporting it again.
I do have a sort of related question. I mean, now that we know what these are and that map, there's like 10 or 15 of these long, straight, 60-foot right-of-way, 40-foot streets that are being proposed. Is that something that staff, I guess, planning department or somebody is looking at? Because that may not be the best plan. I know, especially after hurricanes, there was a lot of talk about trying to get rid of these straight beach access roads and trying to get windy roads in. Without getting into all the science, but it's helpful. But that's a lot of access roads too. Are y'all looking at, maybe not y'all, but planning, or both of y'all, both departments, are y'all looking at updating that at all?
Actively, just due to resources at the time, but what I wanted to point out, like in this particular map that you see on the screen, you could see the various roads that are being proposed that are on this roadway master plan. As far as, future planning, we're not there yet. So it's just as they arise, like in this particular case, we evaluate on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
Can we move it to the neighboring property owner?
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? All right, with that, we'll go ahead and open up, thank you, Renee. We'll open up the public comment for item number 7. If you would, please state your name and address for the record.
I'm just going to follow up on the next presentation. I'm not here for public comment. My apologies.
Oh.
I got caught in
All
traffic.
right. I know that applicants in there, did y'all don't have to come up. I mean, if there's, but you're welcome to.
My apologies.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Stephen Grunwald with Urban Engineering. Even though the classification of this roadway is now known and changed, I think some of the points we made during the last presentation are still applicable. The section that's going across our tract runs from the beach to State Highway 361. It doesn't go further west than that, but there are 2 collectors now that are within a half mile approximately to the north of us and to the south of us that go from the beach to 361 and then further across it to the west. So, we're sandwiched in between 2 proposed roads that go from the beach past 361 all the way to the west. So, I mean, I don't know what interval y'all want these things, but to me, having them a mile apart is, and having one in between there removed is not unreasonable.
Can you show us on the map which ones are the 2 that you referenced?
18V is ours, and so the one to the north and south of us are the other ones.
It's 18T and 18AA, it looks like.
That those are actual roads that are in place?
No, those are proposed just like ours.
That's where I'm at.
18V's right there.
I think what he's pointing out is that the 2 on either side of them actually go beyond 361, and theirs actually didn't for some reason.
Where's the closest actual access road?
Constructed?
Yes.
They're all of these are green.
Can we bring up Google Earth? Do I have access to Google Earth or Google Maps on this?
I mean, if one's built though, wouldn't you think you'd rather have it go from the beach all the way across 361 and not?
Correct.
Right there. Just that purple circle is us.
Right here?
Yeah,
So this is your,
yes.
this is the area, right? And if I can.
And that's the Seagull and the Sandpiper next to it,
Correct.
the north?
So yeah, this is the site, that's the road. So I'll go back to, that's a site. I believe the next, which would be the next, maybe this one?
That's not your road.
It's not? No, it's not your
You
area.
have to go to access road 1, I believe.
There, that one. Correct?
Yes.
One's to the south and what's the distance on that one? Or I guess maybe just road, access road to access road.
So from this existing to the proposed,
So to the next existing one, I think they want. Keep going.
let me just close this and find it first.
So-
This one?
Yes.
All right, so let's measure. I'm gonna, yeah, let me, right here. Miles? 7.33 miles, roughly, approximately. So about 8 miles.
Renee, do you know where that proposed Bond Beach access road is going to be?
No, we don't.
Oh,
But I believe it's south of this location. I just don't know the exact spot.
With the lack of frequency of these actual roads being built in that area, I'm just apprehensive to take away one that's, and I can't tell what this overlay looks like in practice and on the actual video or actual Google Earth satellite image, but what are we looking at here?
So 18V,
Right.
that's the project that we're, that this belongs to. 18AA, 18T, 18R, these are other proposed C1 collectors according to the transportation plan.
It would be nice to know, maybe this is something y'all could do before you get to council, because I'm sure they're going to want to know, but it'd be nice to see these overlaid on the aerial, like, for example, like 18R, 18S. Is there something already in the way? Are those even, are some of these not even feasible because there's developments that have been there for 30 years, or just something? It'd be nice to see now, but I figure council might ask. What?
I think that was on the graphic last time,
Was it?
but I don't remember it.
Yes, there was.
Do y'all have that on this presentation?
No.
Okay.
I have a question. So this is about, what, 6.8 miles? Is that what we're talking about?
What do you mean?
For the beach access?
Well, hold on just a minute. Do you have questions for applicant?
Oh,
Just questions.
no, I don't.
Let me,
I was just gonna talk.
let's go ahead and get through public comment and we can close that and we can do y'all have any other questions for applicant while he's up here? Or applicant's engineer, I should say. No? Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on item number 7? Seeing now, we're going to close the public comment and then go ahead, Commissioner, further discussion.
So one of the questions, it's, so we're at 6.8 miles for beach access. Is that what we're talking about from this last?
The distance between the southernmost and the northernmost, most closest adjacent beach access roads are about 3.5 to 4 miles from this subject property.
And those are existing roads, not,
Right.
not these roads.
Right. These are all proposed, that were laid out however many years ago as access points for the beach. And right now, just from what I've seen as a beach goer, there's a lot of bottlenecking that happens at Newport Pass and at, I can't remember what the beach access road is, just on the south side of Port Aransas there. But there's a lot of bottlenecking, especially in the evenings and the afternoons and everything, of everybody either getting off the beach or coming onto the beach. And as we continue to develop everything, which is happening now, because you've got Cinnamon Shores Phase 1, Phase 2, whatever's in the books for later. And I've talked to developers that are looking to build hotels and all these things on that stretch of road. And as you increase the traffic on that road, maintaining some access or some future access to the beach, having less than a 7-mile span between access roads, I think is important. And it would be, like Chairman York pointed out, it would be nice to be able to see this laid out over what's there, because you've got, like we looked on the Google Earth image, you've got old condos that were built in the 70s and 80s and things, I don't know what the timeline.
I think what I'm trying to get at here is what's going to be the standard for the density that's proposed, that's going to be in here eventually? What standard have they set to be able to allow the beach access to go with the future development of the density? We go ahead and we remove something, and now with the density comes back, there's no going back.
I don't think it really has much to do with whatever the future density is. It's just, these are where these things have been proposed by somebody in the past of where beach access is going to go eventually, right? And I'm not sure, I can't remember what the proposed use of the property is. I don't know if the applicant can refresh our memory. Is this a single-family home or?
The whole development.
Yes, it was development. The last came in, right? It was a development that.
Jeff Hutzer with Coastal Dunes. Yes, single-family residential is what we're proposing. We're approximately 130, 135 total units on the site. Of course, as you saw last time, we're protecting the pond. That's our main feature. We're staying back from the vegetation line, nearly 300 feet. Like you said before, the Sandpiper is to our north, Lost Colony is to our south. Of course, they extend all the way to the beach. One of those old unentitled properties, I guess, from way back when. And one of the reasons, we're requesting removal, this part of the beach is not very wide. I couldn't drive through it today. I looked at my little coastal, tide map, and low tide or high tide was 11:30, 11:45, 1 o'clock. It was still in the dunes. So, better judgment, wife, 150 miles away, and didn't feel like calling a tow truck. I turned around and left. Beach access road 2 to our further south, from our entry to that is just right at 2 miles. So 2 miles down, 2 miles back, gets you back behind our property. We are proposing access for our residents to the beach via golf cart, via pedestrian path through those dunes, because the dunes are a pretty good feature on our property. They're pretty nice, pretty tall. Really would prefer not to disturb them, with a road that we built, nor with the road that would be required, by something Pape Dawson, pointed on a map, over the last several years. So the goal is to have, kind of a nice, good high-end residential community, 130 homeowners. We only have 17 beachfront lots. Everything else is interior, have various sizes, have some good amenities, and allow, access for our residents to not be in, a big fully motorized car, to take, drag their ice chest, drag their golf carts, and, use their feet and use their wagons to get to the beach, instead of, increasing traffic, by, full-size cars. So that's our goal. I know we're the first one in requesting this. I don't know, further north, that is the, the one between Palmilla and, the Texan. I know they're back to back, but that is, as you go further north, of course, that gets into Port Aransas. So unfortunately, we don't have, or y'all don't have any control over how many times they punch through, nor do they have control over what y'all allow up here. But, we do request that, we'd like to have it removed just simply because, it's, we're being selfish and protecting the dunes that are on our property. And I know we've had, Sandpiper and next door, the Lost Colony would prefer not to, kind of keep that area, I guess, quaint, if you want to say, leave it at that. But, we appreciate y'all's feedback and appreciate y'all's consideration of the removal, and understand that, we still have these questions to answer if it does get to City Council, and hope to have just as good luck there.
Thank you. Answer your question. Well, any other questions or discussion? If not, anybody wants to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we deny the proposed amendment to the UTP, removing the Project 18B from the Roadway Master Plan.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to recommend denial for item 7. Mr. Kurtz, or I don't know I know he's filling in first time. We're going to do a roll call vote here, if you don't mind. Can you go through the roll and we'll let each commissioner verbalize their vote? Just to clarify, if you are voting aye, that is in favor of denial.
Correct.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Michael York.
Nay.
Cynthia Zalazar.
Nay.
Brian Mandel.
Aye.
Michael Miller.
Aye.
Mike Muniz.
Aye.
Justin Hedrick.
Aye.
Michael Budd.
Nay.
Ed Cantu.
Nay.
Trey Teichelman.
Aye.
We got 5 aye and 4 nay. The motion passes.
Turn my mic on, sorry. The motion to deny passes by a 5-4 vote. Andrew Buck, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're the recommending body on this, going to council, correct? So this will be heard again at council. Do you guys have a date? Has that been set yet? For council? No.
No, we don't have a set date, but we're trying to get these, we have these items that we're trying to get to council as soon as possible, so.
Okay. I'm assuming they'll be notified.
Yes, we'll notify the applicant when we take them. We'll start
Okay.
working on the documents to get it to council, though, as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. And I guess if you want to stay up, it looks like you're up. We're going to go move on to item number 8. Commissioner Hedrick will be abstaining.
7, 19.
Whenever you're ready.
Do we click on 7?
Do we have the presentation for the?
Okay.
Gotcha. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jorge Chavez. I'm traffic engineer with Public Works. This presentation is in regards to an amendment to the roadway transportation plan for the Marabella development between County Road 22 and County Road 20A. We're going to be focusing on the Marabella development, which is the blue square and the black dotted dash line between County Road 22 and 20A. The master transportation plan for the city of Corpus Christi identifies that line as a proposed north-south C3 collector within the Marabella development. Shown in, as I mentioned, the Marabella development is in blue, and the C3 collector is in black, the black dash line. The plan also identifies County Road 22, which is the red dash line above the, right above the blue square, as a proposed A2 arterial, and County Road 20A as a proposed C3 collector. So as you can see, County Road 20A is to the south of that square of the Marabella development. That's a C1 collector, but that has little to do with the proposed recommendations that are from the developer. Okay, so the developer is proposing that north-south C3 black dash line to be reduced to from a C3 collector to a C1 collector, and it's as you can see, it's now a green dotted line within the Marabella development.
This is the one splitting the blue?
Yes,
Okay.
going right down the center of the blue square.
Can't draw on these anymore.
So if I may, if you focus on the blue square, we're going from the black dash line to the green dotted line.
Okay.
So that is that's from a C3 collector to a C1 collector. It's reducing the right of way.
Okay.
Let me see here, C3 collector, blue. Yes, that is what the developer is proposing.
Okay. Is number 9 related? Is on the same screen?
Sorry?
Item number 9, is that also, are they both on this same map?
Oh, they tie in holistically, which is why you see them here together.
Okay. Do you want to, I mean, up to y'all, are y'all okay if he just explains number 9 as well? They seem to be related.
Okay, so as mentioned, item number 9 has to do with the yellow block, which is Kings Lake development.
Okay.
So they're also proposing some changes to the master transportation plan, which will be County Road 22 east of County Road 43, which is this line here, this green dotted line. They're proposing a reduction from a C3 collector to a C1 collector. Additionally, Kings Lake development is also proposing a reduction on County Road 43 north of County Road 22 from an A2 arterial to a C1 collector, but that only extends, the extent of that change is only for the Kings Lake development and for the Caspian development. So as you can see here, these are the multiple changes they're proposing to the transportation plan. So once again.
Tell me again, County Road 43 is from an A2 to a what?
A C1.
Okay.
How many lanes of traffic is that in difference?
I believe an A1 is 4 and a C1 is 2.
And that's item 9. Is item 9 both roads? It's County Road 43 and the extension of County Road 22?
Correct. Item 9 is County Road 22 east of 43 and County Road 43.
Okay, and County Road 22, what does that change?
That
C3 to C1?
From a C3 to a C1, correct. If I may go back. This is the existing transportation plan as we have from Pape Dawson, from the recent adoption in January of last year. So we have a C3 here going north-south within the Marabella development. We have a C3 on County Road 22 east of 43. And we have an A2 arterial coming from Weber all the way down to County Road 20A.
Okay.
So, and again, just to reiterate, the changes are this C3 to a C1, this C3 to a C1, and this A2 to a C1.
I want to focus on item 8 first, but this will apply to both. Can you tell me, a C1 is 60-foot right-of-way 40 foot of pavement. What's a C3?
A C3, I don't know off the top of my head, what is 75 foot right away?
And what's the pavement?
The
52. Is that still, is it just the addition of the chicken lane, turning lane in the middle? Okay.
It can be that or a median, depending on what we want to build up there.
Okay, and what, since we're on this, what about the A2?
The A2 is
Is that 120?
I do. So this is a primary collector, 75 foot right of way with 2 lanes in each direction. An arterial is 100 foot right of way, and I believe it's 2 lanes in each direction, and you can either have a turning lane or a median, depending on what needs to be constructed.
Can you clarify for me what we are approving exactly in item number 8?
So item number 8 is solely the blue square. Do they see my mouse? Or is it? Yeah, okay. So on item number 8 is this road right here, coming down, that dissects right in the center of the blue square, which is the Marabella development. The developer's proposing changing this from a C3 to a C1. It's reducing the amount of road. And there's some more additional comments regarding this. So I'm going to stick to item 8, and then we can move on to item 9, just so there's no.
That's fine. Is it fair to say that, can you go back to that slide you just showed us? So the C3 is a 4-lane road, and a C1 is really just a 2-lane road?
Correct.
With parking space on either side for parks and other things, collector roads. Is there anything north and south of that road where it is today? In other words, is the C3 developed anywhere else, or is it going to bottleneck, or does it not exist anywhere else?
I believe it, yeah.
I mean constructed, not on the match plan. It doesn't look like there's anything
nothing
there.
currently constructed south or north of it.
Okay,
This
yeah,
would
that's what I'm asking.
Okay. So sticking to item number 8, we're focusing on the blue square, the black line in between the blue square. We're going from a C3 collector down to a C1 collector, reducing the right-of-way.
Just to be perfectly clear, if we approve item number 8, all we are approving is that vertical line right there, C3 to C1.
If I may continue, there's a caveat to that.
That's what I'm worried about.
So let me finish item number 8, and you'll see how this affects holistic.
But we can't, I'm not going to vote on item number 8 until I know what that caveat is, so you may as well tell us what it is right now.
That's where I'm going to next.
Okay.
So this is the development that was submitted to us. The highlighted area is the C3 going down to a C1. This is what they're proposing, this design here. So it won't run, straight in a straight line. It's just, it weaves in and out, or meanders, if you will.
Which one is this?
This is the C3 down to a C1, the one highlighted in yellow.
Was that the only caveat?
The caveat is what's highlighted in red, and that's where I'm going next.
Okay, what's the caveat?
The caveat is, since Kings Lake West is recommending we whittle their County Road 22 east of County Road 43 from a C3 to a C1, this would, we would then have a disconnect. We would have this as an A2. So staff, upon seeing this, is recommending we also change this County Road 22 between Crosstown and County Road 43 from an A2 down to a C1 as well, to keep that corridor holistically the same.
Can you tell me so this County Road 22 is kind of the midpoint between Weber and Staples. What are Weber and Staples? Are they A1, A2, A3?
I believe they're A1s, right? They're A3s.
A3s?
Staples is huge.
I can do you want me to bring up the urban transportation map? I think I can do that.
And where I'm going with that, those are the major streets on either side of this. Are there any other, because it looks like this was the mid street here was going to be the minor arterial. Are there other arterials planned between Staples and Weber, or was it just this one that's going to now be reduced potentially?
I believe there's other arterials, if I'm correct. I want to be sure, so I'm bringing this up here. I think it's, would this one have it? Transportation, beautiful. Look at this. Oh, where am I? Here we go, here we go. Fantastic. So, okay. That's County Road 20A, that's 22. So I'm turning on now the transportation plan. So this grid system between Weber and Staples, we have one proposed C3, an A2, which is the one we're talking about right now, a C3 collector, and then Staples itself, which is an A3 arterial.
What is the distance between Weber and Staples in mileage?
In mileage, I think I can bring that up over here.
I'm going to guess 7 miles.
Who wants to second that? No, I'm just playing.
6.9999.
So from Weber to Staples, 2.5 miles.
I was way off.
So what also is the distance, if you scroll up into town, what's the difference from Saratoga, from Saratoga to,
Holly.
well, Saratoga to SPID?
Yorktown.
Saratoga? On Staples, anywhere?
Anywhere. Because what I'm wondering is like, so Holly Road is kind of your main big street between SPID and Saratoga, and it gets used a lot. So like, and personally, I don't really care about the C3 to a C1 in the middle of their development. That doesn't seem like it's going to do much if traffic's looked at it. It doesn't look like it connects to anything else right now. But the other one on the edge of their development, are we potentially looking at taking a future Holly Road and turning it into a collector street, which is going to cause problems down the road? That's
That's
what
going to look
I'm
like
wondering.
Flower Bluff Drive.
Aren't the major streets typically a mile apart?
Yeah, which is kind of where this is. I mean, so it seems like it's not quite in the center, but that's what was the intent, it looks like, because it was the only A2.
So here, I believe this is Holly to Saratoga, 1 mile.
So yeah, that A2 is kind of like your Holly Road. Okay, so can you clarify? So item 8, I thought it was just for the one street in the blue, C3 to C1. Is that correct, or are we also voting on County Road 22 going down from an A2 to a C1?
Since we're recommending it as staff, it would be on both. The developer is requesting the change for the center road within the development, and staff is recommending for County Road 22 between Crosstown and County Road 43, given the other developments that are also going to affect this entire area as a whole.
Okay. I'm going to say I'm surprised by that. What is staff's thoughts there on County Road 22 and the section of County Road 43 being reduced?
You're talking about the north-south, Michael?
Right.
Yeah, so I guess if we could back up some, right? What George was trying to present is that we received requests from 2 competing developers, right? For the Marabella and Kings Lake to the east. So we had to go look at both of them holistically because they were both asking for different types of amendments. Now, to your question, we have this grid system in the ETJ that was developed decades ago. And to your question earlier on about the planning, much of what's in the ETJ has not been analyzed by staff. You know, even, and the update to the roadway master plan, that was really only for city limits. Nothing's been evaluated in ETJ. Now we have developments moving into the ETJ, and just like with the previous requests and these two, we're having to look at these like one at a time. So making one change may impact a whole corridor between what already exists, you know, in place. So like looking between Weber and Staples, we can't just make changes to one development without looking at it holistically, as George was trying to say. So this is why we had both of them presented the same on both, so you could see the changes that are being made. But to your question about the reduction, one of the reasons why we were recommending to maintain the reduction for County Road 22 is simply because east of County Road 43, as George was saying, that there is a utility easement that the city wants to maintain in that 40-foot right-of-way.
And that's that blue line beneath the dotted green line.
Yeah, that's that blue line. So that's the alignment, or would be alignment for a proposed roadway going east of 43. But the problem is you can't build a road because there's utilities in the way. So that's why the developer proposed a jog and also.
Is that their lift station and temporary force main?
Yes. And the other thing is that the crossings for Oso Creek are only at Weber, across Weber and Staples. So our master plan, and I guess George could pull it up real quick, you'll see that in between Weber and Staples, there are no connections across the Oso Creek.
Besides
so having an A2 arterial really doesn't make sense in that area because it's going to dead end. Really, a collector, any street in that area would just be collecting from those abutting developments and then taking them back out to 286. So with the functionality of your Weber as an A3, Staples to the south as an A3, you have 286 further to the west as another major collector. We'll get into this in the presentation for item number 9, but it's why in Kings Lake they asked, and George was pointing out, a reduction for County Road 43 in their short piece. We weren't satisfied with reducing that classification, so we're maintaining it because, to y'all's question, we want to maintain at least a bigger corridor going north-south.
To feed.
So staff is recommending denial on the reduction of 43?
Correct. And we will be doing that in item number.
That's what I thought. I thought you said differently. Okay.
Yeah, there are two items, but like I said, so it would make sense when you vote on one and the other, you see the whole picture. So we apologize if there's any confusion, but in this particular item from Marabella, what we were trying to focus on was the developer. He only proposed reducing that north-south collector, but because of the changes being proposed in Kings Lake and what exists out there for utilities, we were the ones that said, look, let's also reduce County Road 22.
So we can't approve, we can't approve item number 8 for just the north-south C1? We have to do it with County Road 22 reduction as well?
You could deny, you could just.
You can make a motion to recommend how you like, and it'll go forward.
We're just pointing out that if you maintain an A2 going east-west of County Road 22, that would not make sense because you have that right away for what, 100 feet?
Yeah.
Have y'all looked at the numbers for that? Personally, I don't care about reducing it east of County Road 43, but to me, all 3 of these developments and the other 6 that'll pop up in the next 10 or so years are all going to use County Road 22 to get out to 286, because I would.
Yeah, but
I'm not going to Weber or Staples because they're backed up and they got medians, or Weber probably will soon. Staples is going to be median, so I'm going out straight to 286.
Well, there are other collectors proposed besides County Road 22 east and west, right? So there will be other avenues.
Right, but this was the only.
But they're not there. I mean, they're proposed, but they're not there.
Well, all of these are all proposed right now. Nothing exists. I mean, you have some of the 40-foot right-of-ways, but as far as a major or bigger roadway section, nothing exists except for the county roads. But what I would also point out is that for these requests to assist staff, we do request that the developers provide a traffic study. So both developments provided a traffic study. For the Marabella development, we were satisfied with what was presented because they showed the number of trips that would be generated from that development. If you go to the next slide, that shows his layout in yellow.
How many home sites are in Marabella when it's fully built out?
Yeah, but you're looking at an arterial, so you should be looking at the overall, I mean, this whole area, not just these developments, right?
Yeah, but for County Road 22, right, that particular arterial dead ends where Oso Creek will dead end. there's not going to be any cross-traffic going across the Oso Creek.
Moses is chomping at the bit, but
Yeah.
we got to get through these and then we'll let you
Yeah.
talk.
But what I would say is, like, we had a study that was done, and based on the number of trips being generated for the Marabella development, they showed basically satisfying the reduction from the C3 to the C1
For their internal street.
for their
you're talking
internal
about.
street.
Okay.
But what we were looking at too is with those numbers, right, what would be generated, and we understand there's future developments to the north. But as far as what would dump out onto County Road 22, we're satisfied that at least the C1, there may be some widening at the intersection, right, to accommodate, a right turn or left turn movement out, because you're going to also have the extension for Crosstown, which is proposed by TxDOT. Eventually, that's going to be an extension of the highway system. So you're going to have frontage road. So traffic will really be limited to, when that is built, to a right turn only, right? Up until then, you have the opportunity to turn right or left. So, like I said, we were satisfied with that reduction because the changes that will come, they're not in place yet, but with that extension and a bridge being built, it's going to really limit access to a right in, right out. So to have a 4-lane corridor leading in and out, to these developments, and with, I guess, no possibility of an extension across the Oso Creek, those were decisions that we felt would satisfy a reduction to
For County Road 22.
County Road 22.
Thank you for that explanation. One last question from me. County Road 43, I know on here the red stops there, but does the arterial on the map, the A2 designation or whatever it is, A2 extends all the way to Staples, right?
Correct, and that's why we didn't want to just reduce it for that one small segment, because looking at the entire corridor from Weber to Staples, we felt that all that traffic from either side could dump into 43, and instead of using 286, because that two-way traffic now with the freeway.
Right, because they're all going to go south and get on Staples to go north on 286.
Correct.
So they don't have to turn into traffic.
So we were satisfied with reducing it for just their development, and that's why on that particular presentation,
Our recommendation
our
is to keep
recommendation is to deny at least a reduction for that section.
I think it's pretty interesting. What's the distance between that grid? Is it a 1-mile grid on the old UTP?
It kind of looks like
They were done in like half mile and.
It was arterials on a mile and collectors every half mile for the most.
I just think it's interesting that 22 is prescribed to be a arterial and 20 is prescribed to be a collector, yet on the future land use map that was adopted in the London Area Development Plan, it showed a big commercial and mixed-use node at 286 and County Road 20A. I just think it's interesting that whenever they develop the land use map, that they would choose that intersection to do the commercial node and not 22.
Can you pull up the overlay on the future land use map? Yeah, exactly. Can you check off?
Oh yeah, go to the top. Talking about to the aerial?
the area or future land.
No, he wants to see the future land.
Oh, sorry.
Overlay.
Where do I get?
Land use, right? It's like 5 above parcels.
Oh yeah, keep going up.
This one?
Yeah. Just to kind of show you what Mike's talking about.
No, it hasn't been updated.
It's ETJ, it's all
Yeah.
farm rural.
But they don't put the flume on there, Andrew?
Maybe on the ETJ, there's an ETJ.
Future land use, I'm sorry, right there.
Oh, here we go.
There it is.
There it is. See right there at 20A?
This?
No, the node on 286 and 20A. Right there, down.
The one with all
Down.
the red commercial box.
Yeah, right there. So that's at 20A, which was prescribed in the UTP as a C, or as a collector and not an arterial. And then 22 to the north is prescribed to be a arterial, but it doesn't have that commercial node there. I just thought that was kind of interesting, the way they laid that out. Wish I'd have thought about it to ask the question when I was on the.
Two different planners, 60 years apart.
Who did the traffic study? Y'all mentioned that.
Pete Dawson, I believe, did it for, KCI.
KCI for.
KCI.
That was for the development in the.
For the development, yeah, because Pape Dawson, I see, yeah.
Pape Dawson did it for Kings Lake. KCI did it for Maribela.
I have a question. If the land to the north of Maribela was developed to be identical, so another 1,000 units, I believe Maribella's proposed 1,000 units, would that change your decision on the reduction from a C1 or what is it? What's the direction?
Arterial.
Yeah, that was my same question, but kind of rephrased. You said you analyzed their traffic study and Kings Lakes, but did you take those numbers and then account for to the north, southeast, if all of that develops, that's going to funnel into the A2? Did y'all look at that or just the numbers that were provided?
Yeah, like I said, in looking at what both were developed and the possibility of like, okay, if you had a development north of County Road 22, the possibility of some connection back to County Road 22 is possible. But with all the proposed traffic and trips, right, it's, well, how many lanes of traffic do you really need to accommodate, right? And with the proposed volumes that we show in the roadway master plan, I don't have those numbers in front of me, but I believe if you go to the next slide or
This one?
We may have to pull up the roadway master plan, but I believe even for C1, it goes up to, is it 3,000 at least? It accommodates at least 3,000 trips, 4 to 8. So with that number, that C1 should have enough capacity because his particular development was showing, what, 800 trips?
Yeah,
I
it was
believe.
half the amount required.
So even if you added a few more for development to the north, a C1 has more than enough capacity to accommodate the developments.
And for growth.
And for growth. Mhm.
I don't believe you.
Pete Dawson did the roadway master plan and the study, and
Do you believe him?
But they didn't do any studies outside the city limits, they said.
no, but they did studies for the capacities for C1s, C2s, all of the streets, and if you go to the roadway master plan, you'll see the capacities that each collector, each roadway classification should be able to accommodate. So taking all those factors into consideration, like I said, an A2 would be overwhelming for this particular area, especially because of the lack of connectivity back to areas east of the Oso Creek.
So I guess to beat a dead horse on this answer, you looked at this thoroughly and you feel like all this develops and a C1 is fine, people turning left, turning right into these developments on a 2-lane C1 collector is going to be okay?
Yes, because on this particular Maribela development, they have major roads going through on their particular development. And those are things that we would look for, as far as access, a development north of 22. Pretty sure that they would have a roadway as well to provide connectivity into their development. I think what we're talking about is a north-south kind of, traffic flow back onto County Road 22. And with that, because there'll be multiple points of ingress and egress, right, there's no need to necessarily make a massive roadway off of 22. Because, for example, in Moses' development, and he'll come up and speak, you'll see that if you go to that second slide, that you're the one with the red, you see that he has a roadway coming into his development as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he has that collector running north and south. So there's multiple points of ingress and egress.
But that roadway, is that 20A?
This one? Correct.
No, she's talking about he has his own internal.
Well, no, that's 20A.
Yeah, this would.
20A is on the bottom.
20A?
Right.
And he has an east-west corridor right in the middle.
He's got his own splitting between those two, is what they're saying. I'm all for that. Okay, any other questions for staff? I think the developer may be able to answer some of our other questions in public comment. No? Okay. Seeing none, we will open up the public hearing.
Hate to be annoying, but okay, let's start this over. So what we propose, they said it was two different developers, which is absolutely correct, right? So ultimately, this development is 1,200 acres, right? So what's different about this development compared to any other C1 collector you see in Corpus is that this C1 collector has no houses on it. This is a road, right? It's a winding road. This development comes from a concept they have in the valley, which reduces speeds and ultimately has no houses. All the houses feed off of the standard 28-foot back-to-back streets. This is going to be a 2-lane road with a median that funnels all the traffic from the highway to what we want to stay as an A2 collector on the backside of the property, because right now if you go from Weber to Staples, you have to go all the way to Saratoga or Oso Parkway and go through, you know, Hamilton and the lakes and all that to get to Staples. So we definitely want this road, which in their unit or their number 9, they want to delete this. You don't want that. You want to keep this to go all the way through, because you want that as a 4-lane road, because that's where their traffic, which is Sun George's development here and John Tomez and then Farmers, and then this side actually can attach to that, can eventually go here to Staples or Weber, or come down what will eventually be a C1 collector, or this one was actually a C3 collector. So this could be 2 lanes with the turning lane. The C1 collector that they're asking for can be a 2-lane with a turning lane. But people from this neighborhood are going to either go, right now they're not going to go to 20 because that leads to nowhere, because you're going to have this installed in the next 2 years. So this is an access road that goes one direction unless you go across and come on the other side. But this simple C1 collector, you want to, or this C3, you want to make a C1 because there's no houses on it. So it funnels traffic, true traffic, where most C1 collectors in Corpus have driveways and everything in front of it. You're not going to have people in this neighborhood go over here to then miss the entrance potentially to get on the highway. They're going to come in and out of our own neighborhood. And if they do go here, a small portion of it will. So then you ask, well, what's going to happen here? Well, I own this as well. So there'll be another C1 collector in this neighborhood. And then over here, where your full-blown commercial corridor will one day happen the next 15, 20 years, we'll have a C3 collector that'll eventually tie into this A2. But you definitely want to have this A2 go all the way from Staples to Weber, so it alleviates some traffic that would happen on the highway or the access road, and definitely alleviate all the people who drive through Oso Parkway to get to here to then come to Staples or go to Yorktown. So what they're asking for makes sense, and we did a TIA study, full-blown $50,000 study that incorporated this whole region. It goes from actually the fireworks stand all the way to here. Why? Because we own more property here, but the reason we even asked for this to be a C1 is because it's a true C1 with no houses funneling on top of it, so you don't need a C3. And then here, we actually took the C1 or took the idea, instead of worrying about this street, we wanted to put in our own C1 collector to move traffic with ease, which is a part of the overall master plan that we've designed for this neighborhood. Now, this neighborhood has winding streets throughout the neighborhood, which slows down traffic, and as you can see, it all funnels into this C1 collector.
That straight part, is that actually a road or a common area?
What's that?
In the center, where it goes to, is it?
No, so this is a road that winds like this.
Going east-west, the straight part.
Yeah, all this goes in both directions.
No, right, where your mouse is, right there?
Uh-huh. Oh, this goes all the way straight through.
But on that's a road right there, that's straight?
Yeah.
Because it says common area in the...
Oh. Well, what did I... No, so yeah, there's going to be, there's common areas throughout this property.
Oh, the road winds around a common area.
Yeah. Okay, and then it just goes straight on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
So you have real good connectivity in and out of this neighborhood. Ultimately, you guys have already approved this master plat several times. I think 3 different times, because they've brought in different different phases already. So this is just the last part of it, is just getting this UTP amendment. Now, the reason none of this was in our Pape Dawson impact fee study is because this is in the ETJ. So Michael, what you were commenting on as far as why they put commercial there, that was just a best guess, but ultimately all the zoning for that has to happen, and none of that can be incorporated because none of this property, not this property, this one, and not this one, and none of this is in the city limits. None of this is in the city limits. These two neighborhoods have already annexed. None of this is in the city limits.
I don't want to drag this on but I want to know, on your plat, are you planning commercial in the front?
So there's a piece of commercial that TxDOT required to have driveway accesses that we've already got TxDOT permits for.
How big is that? Is that like what's on like Yorktown?
It's like 10 acres on each side.
Like 300 feet deep or something, like a retail center kind of thing?
Yeah, it's only going to be a shopping center, and then we've already incorporated, you can't see it on this, but there's medians here, and then this is TxDOT required an 80-foot right-of-way in the front so that you can turn right, so that people then can turn left under the underpass and come this way back into town, or turn right, and then there's a right-hand turn lane that actually goes into this small strip right here, which is commercial. So even though it's classified as a C1, there's still a larger right-of-way at the mouth of the neighborhood to allow all of the traffic from this neighborhood in and out without regardless if this is an A2 or C1. Because right now it's a county road. And then remember, on this side of the street is a county road that Brent Chesney and the county just redid. This is always going to stay as a 2-lane road right here. I mean, you don't have utilities.
But it doesn't matter because that's going to be cut off by 286 anyway, right? We're not anticipating they'll have an intersection there.
There's an underpass under here.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is where the underpass is. So it's actually
the only underpass from in between
from Weber to
and Staples?
Yes. So everything else funnels and goes onto the highway or exits out, but that's also why we did a left-hand turn lane, right-hand turn lane in and out of here, so that if people get to here and they want to turn around, it's real easy. Or it's actually 2 right-hand turn lanes and 1 turning in, because there is no underpass on our property. It'll be here.
But how is your collector that is not on this UTP that you're telling us you're going to build?
Yeah, this is on the this is on the master preliminary, and phase 1. When we start phase 1 in April, we'll put in this collector from here to here, and then we'll have 1 neighborhood on this hand, 1 neighborhood on this side, and I believe some lots over here.
I'm just curious how this lays out with the TxDOT expansion project and where off-ramps are and...
Yep. So they took a piece of, again, TxDOT required us to do the entrance this way based on their highway expansion, off-ramps and on-ramps. And then my property, I donated to TxDOT on County Road 22, a sliver on this side and a sliver on that side. Because again, even though this is a C1 collector or an A2, it's all about what happens in the 100 feet right till you get to the on-ramp or try to get into the property or to the highway. But the traffic that's going to come down here, and also this will not have any driveways on this. So again, this will be a true C1 collector that has a fence from all the homes on this side and eventually a fence from all the homes on this side. So it'll be a true C1 collector, and all it'll be doing is taking the 400 houses here and 400 houses here. But if these people live here, they can come this way down a road that solely exists really for them, or they would take a right and go back to Weber. Because this has to be an A2 day 1, because this is a dirt road right now. This is a re-asphalted Caliche County road right now. So for these 2 developments to happen, they have to construct this road to their development. For our development to happen, we are constructing a C1 collector down this road. The county road exists the same way the county road exists on this side. And then 100 foot of the county road on County Road 20A exists up to about right here. And then all of this is a dirt road.
What school district are you in? Is this London?
This is London. Everything goes over here. So people are going to get on from back here, these houses, go to Weber to go to school. Or they might come down the county road, stay on the access road, then take a left here. But if there's a commercial here in 20 years, people are going to go this way because it's all residential, down that way. They're not going to get stuck on the on and off portion of this highway. Because remember, this highway is going to start right here. People are going to go on, they're going to be able to get off, and they're going to be able to go back on over here. It's not going to just be on all the way through.
Okay. Sorry, Mike on. While he's here, does anybody else have questions for the applicant or developer, I guess? City's the applicant.
But I would definitely recommend keeping the A2, reducing this down to a C1. They'll have their C1, and if everything is planned out correctly, they have an Oso Parkway here as well. So everybody in these neighborhoods from right here to here to here to here will also have an Oso Parkway that's supposed to exit out onto Weber. So this is no different than Rancho Vista. And then just, I can't bring up Google Earth here, but I'm moving that instead. Yeah, I know. Let me realign there.
I mean, we're going to keep Oso Park continuous here?
It's supposed to be continuous, and it's on both their preliminary plats that y'all as planning commission members have approved. Now, I will state that I have one C3 collector and one C1 collector for 1,800 houses in my Kings Landing neighborhood.
So you're also recommending exactly what staff has recommended?
Yeah, I want to make sure that we don't lose this A2, because that's key for the next 35, 40 years. And then this right here, I would have not recommended this if we had not done a C1 ourselves. And I wouldn't have not recommended this if this was like a traditional C1 collector in the city of Corpus Christi where houses are in front of it. Even though it's just a bigger road, every driveway abuts to it. And because there's no driveways, there's no traffic impediment.
Right.
Moses, thank you for that clarification, because that makes a big difference, having homes backing up to that street as opposed to people coming in and out on a
Yeah, so you'll have a 40-foot road, which can have a turn lane into this portion of the C1 at some point, and then have a turn lane at the entrance of 286 to come this direction, or right-hand lanes, and TxDOT's going to require a right-hand turn lane into there too, so that you're not slowing down the access road. So those are all things that have already happened with the TIA and the requirements that are going to happen when the improvements of County Road 22 have to happen.
When do you plan on starting this?
So this neighborhood is supposed to start 3 months ago, but we're here today for the UTP amendment. This is the last part of getting 4 construction plans released by the City of Corpus Christi Development Services. This is the last requirement that we have, because construction plans have already been approved. You guys approved a master preliminary, a preliminary, 3 different subdivision plans, and the construction of the main boulevard, which will all happen at one time. So it's 222 homes day one.
Good.
And it's all lined up with TxDOT. We've worked with them for the last year. And then we got a TIA and everything done for them, or for it too. I'm going to stop playing with the mouse.
My biggest concern is TxDOT's going to put an overpass there. And so looking 20 years down the road, no, I'm just making a comment, sorry. We want to close the public.
Yeah, are y'all have anything else for him, or I can let him?
Well, you don't want to ask me the question?
I'm just making a statement.
More like a comment, that's why I was going to let you say it.
Well, I'd like to counter if he's got.
My concern is you're going to have, because right now 286 in that section of road is 286 in that section of road.
Yeah, until last week.
In 5 years, it's going to be something different. It's going to look much more similar to SPID than it does to the current.
Completely agree.
Right. So the only overpass that you're going to have between Weber and Staples is going to be right there on County Road 22.
one side of it is always going to be a 20-foot county road. This side of it would be a 60-foot right-of-way on the portion that leads to just the homes back there. But the portion that actually opens up to 286 will be a 100-foot right-of-way.
I get that, Moses, but you made concessions with TxDOT to basically chamfer on either side of 22 because presumably TxDOT had some concerns about some large trucks wanting to turn onto 22.
No, it's just because right now it's a 40-foot right-of-way. So you only get your 20-foot county road, and there's a drainage ditch actually on the right-hand side of that. So what they wanted to do is get a piece of the property so that they can have just a right-hand turn lane. Because they need to make sure that everybody can turn right without it. I mean, on a 20-foot county road right now, what can they do? They can't turn right. You can only go straight one direction or the other. People can't even turn left without being in the lane that's going either right or straight. Does that make sense?
Well, what's there now?
What's there? Yeah,
What's prescribed is something completely different because the A1 arterial.
So what's prescribed on the ETJ UTP doesn't get followed unless the land gets annexed, right? So if they don't annex the property, then that stays a county road, just like what's going to happen across the street forever. Because there's no water, there's no sewer, there's no.
But I think we can both agree that it's going to happen eventually.
Oh, we're going to annex this side.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. What I'm saying is that because we control the development to the north and we've controlled the development to the south, we put in a C1 collector in the actual development. You're worried that all that traffic is going to go onto that C1 collector. What's to the south of that is basically, you can call it 1,000 homes total between the purple, the yellow, and the gray part that's not shaded. That's all the traffic that theoretically would go onto County Road 22. Everything that's north of it, where you see that little asphalt road and the pond, all this traffic is going to have its own C1s or C3 collectors that ultimately funnel onto this road. You're assuming that all of this is going to funnel onto here because this is the turnaround. But if I have a C1 collector, people are going to come onto here, get to here, and then turn around. Because there's still going to be that, just like under every highway, you have just the turnaround, right? Next to the highway. So these people would have to take a left-hand turn to turn this way, where people coming out of my own neighborhood, if they want to come back this direction, they get into the little turnabout, the turnaround. So it's, again, do you want to come to a stop sign here and cross this and come under? Or do you want to come to a stop sign here, turn right, and then obviously get into the next lane and come around this direction? If there was no C1 collector here, I would agree with you. Then you would need 4 lanes, 2 lanes going in both directions.
But we've only approved your master preliminary, right?
No, you've approved the master, the prelim, and 4 different units.
And so that C1
gets built on unit 1, halfway to this point right here. We want to make sure that day 1 we have enough traffic flow for the 200 homes, even though there's 500 homes in this corridor. And ultimately on phase 5 and 6, we'll put in this C1, which would dump onto County Road 22. And then, but again, these developers to develop this property have to put in this road day 1. They can't use this road to get to their development. So any of this traffic right now is going to go back in and out of a 4-lane road instead of a 2-lane county road. Anybody who lives here and goes to school, sure, can come this direction. But then you come this direction to drive on an access road to get to this traffic light and turn left, or you go down a 4-lane road, get to a 5-lane road, get to a traffic light and go straight. If this road didn't exist and this road here was not the size it is, then I would completely agree with you. And if you're thinking of future, there is at least 2 to 3 more C1 and C3 collectors that tie into this A2. Because what's going to eventually happen is people from this neighborhood, this neighborhood, this neighborhood, and this neighborhood are going to want to go to Staples potentially this way, or go this way, but they're going to go in and out of their own C1s. Why would they dump onto this road?
I'm just looking into the future and I'm visiting.
I am too.
SPID, and
Yeah.
everywhere where there's an overpass, there's always four corner stores, strip malls, some sort of shell space.
So no commercial on this side. The big, large commercial, so I have a $2 billion commercial project here that we obviously get calls on now because there's homes here. This is a 8-acre shopping center, 8-acre shopping center. Both of them have their own independent driveway accesses off of the highway. They don't have any access off of County Road 22. They don't even have access onto County Road 22. TxDOT required us to put the access points for both sides of this shopping center onto our own C1 collector, in and out.
Ooh.
That's okay.
Why is that okay?
Because you have access out of the shopping center onto the access road. You have access from this shopping center out, and anybody who lives in this neighborhood doesn't have to come on the highway. They can come in and out of this broken median C3 collector.
But you're going to have all your commercial traffic coming off where you're saying that's alleviating your residential traffic, all coming out of that one point right there.
So the traffic can come off, so people who are on the highway will not come onto this road to go into this shopping center or this shopping center. You'll have a driveway here, you'll have a driveway here. People who live in this neighborhood will, yes, be able to turn right or turn left into the shopping center as another access point here and here.
Yeah, I get all that.
But none of it will actually go to County Road 22, and actually none of it will go to County Road 20. Because County Road 20 is going to stay as a county road for quite a long time, because you have 4 houses that live right here, individual homes. And then the rest of this is all county and probably doesn't have sewer access for quite a long time. So, and the rest of it fronts neighborhoods that only access in and out of Staples, like Promenade, Sun George Villa, Country Creek. All of that dumps its traffic onto Staples.
Well,
but I understand your concern. I was just trying to give you the history of what we own, what we're doing.
And I know you have control, right?
Yeah.
And I believe you.
Yeah. I have to master plan it.
We've been baited and switched before.
Oh, yeah.
Marbella and Caspian and Kings Lake West is a prime example of that.
24 years, NPM's never done anything like that.
Right.
Yeah, they platted it and sold it for whatever reasons, but obviously I'm only attached to them by agenda item number right now. I'm only focused on number 8. Make sure that's very clear that we are just asking for this here and this here. How it ties into them is what Public Works wanted to bring up. And personally, and for the city, this is your bigger alleviation and shouldn't be touched in any form or fashion.
It's the bigger thing.
This goes from 2.5 miles, this goes 1 mile, or half a mile actually.
All right, anybody else have anything else?
I'm going to join Andrew at the bar. Just kidding.
All right, anybody else want to speak on item 8?
Everybody went home?
Or item 9? Well, kidding, we'll have to open that one up separate. All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and entertain discussion. Just to clarify this, can you put that slide back up with the blue rectangle? This agenda item, staff, correct me if I'm wrong, is to reduce the green dash line going north-south from a C3 to a C1.
Correct.
And reduce County Road 22 from 286 to 43 from an A2 to a C1.
Correct.
Those are 2 items in agenda item number 8.
And just for good measure, I'll change the color so that we know we're talking about those two locations only.
Discussion-wise, I mean, I do this stuff all the time. I could care less about the one in between the blue rectangle. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't seem like it's going to affect anything. The County Road 22 one, I'm on the fence about. I don't feel like I got enough information to make me feel good about reducing it because I don't know what's going to happen in the future, especially once I learned there was an overpass going to be there. I don't know. To me, like, is everybody going to want to go across 286 and try to go the back way to London, to the school, or come from London and use that as a way to avoid the main streets? I don't know.
And Michael,
could be fine.
What I could add is that you have several instances where you have an overpass. It doesn't mean that the street leading up to it is carrying high volumes of traffic. I mean, we have
yeah, but it means that's the only place you can cross without going to the big long red lights, and that's where people like me are going to go. So I'm just saying I'm a little on the fence because of that. It makes me nervous.
At this point at the intersection, TxDOT, their requirements, they're going to widen that portion. So that A2, what we're saying, it doesn't need to be the whole length of the corridor. At the intersection, TxDOT's going to widen to make sure you can accommodate all the movements and the traffic flow that you need. But once you get along that corridor, and I'm glad Moses came to the dark side because it's something that we've been pushing for a while, is that our collector streets, especially our collector streets, traditionally, when they've been built here locally, you have homes fronting. We've always been against that, but our code only affords.
I like that.
It's on an arterial. But to his point, if you go to other areas, other cities, you'll see these collectors where the homes.
You'll see arterials.
And that way it allows for better flow of traffic and speeds. You don't get the complaints because you don't have all the access management issues from all those residential homes. So with that, when you're just looking at a corridor that's really just collecting traffic from the neighborhoods, dumping them onto another road, and then taking you to an intersection. And for the fact that this road dead ends into the Oso Creek, well, basically an Oso Parkway collector that runs north-south as well. There's no connection across. You're really limiting access back to the freeway to what is nearby and in the vicinity. And at that point, when you're thinking of an E2, when you think of your streets like Cimarron or, Rodfield, I think is an A3. But when you look at these 4-lane streets, you really look at what's involved. That really for this area, our master plan, this hasn't been updated in decades. And now that we have development moving in, we're having to evaluate, unfortunately, on the spot and with the information we have at hand. But to Moses's point, the TIA looks at an area within a 2-mile radius. So it looks at impacts at the major intersections, whether they're stop or intersection controlled. The particular TIA took into account the improvements at TxDOT before and after and the conditions when it's built out. So he did not recommend a reduction, staff did, because like he said, he was not joined with item 9, it was separate, but in looking at what they were recommending and the challenges where they're basically taking a collector into their development and leaving that utility easement and looking at the potential for traffic. And like he said, any developments to the north, they're going to have their own type of collector type access back. We were fine, we made the recommendation as staff to reduce it from a 4-lane roadway because, like I said, based on the studies that the city paid for, a collector can accommodate up to 8,000 trips average.
When this is fully developed, that area, County Road 22 and Highway 286, are you envisioning something like a Carroll Lane SPID or a Nile SPID, something like that?
Yeah, because we have Carroll Lane, yes. We have intersections where you have one lane coming up to a busy intersection. So that is a good example that you brought up. When you look at Carroll Lane and it's widened out at the intersection. It's carrying traffic that's dumping off from all the residential neighborhoods.
You're going to see one.
I don't know what it's classified as because it's, things have changed. It's a C1.
But I thought Caroline has a turning line.
No.
Well, and that's part of what.
Can we compromise on a C3?
You can make whatever recommendation you want in your motion.
Well, what we're saying is
And he didn't ask
by
for the
default,
reduction.
when TxDOT looks at the access management, you're going to have that potential width at the intersection. And then it's going to narrow back down. To have it that same corridor for the whole entire.
Yeah, but that's not in what I don't know, I disagree with that because that's not in what we make a motion and reduce it to a C1. They can do a 60-foot right of way all the way through there until they get to basically the point of
No,
return
but-
for TxDOT.
but at
They
the
can't control what they
intersection-
do there.
Sorry, but like at the intersection to Moses' point, TxDOT will take what they need. In order for him to meet access management guidelines, TxDOT will require certain amounts of right-of-way dedication.
So we gave TxDOT already property from these two properties so that they can do what they need to when they do their expansion of their highway, right? Because we're not doing anything for County Road 22 with this development. The reason I haven't come to ask for this is because I'm not doing anything with the future development yet, okay? So had I started that project, I would have said, okay, this doesn't make sense because we were more focused on us putting in our own boulevard collector, kind of like Keene's Crossing. You got your boulevard, you got a median in the middle, brings that wow effect. It's like an Oso Parkway. It's that boulevard that goes through. So, I mean, ultimately, that's what we were focused on. So we're not focused on what the future area is going to be. But
that's not an esplanated parkway.
it's a curvy street is what I meant. I mean, it doesn't have... It's
It
not,
is in the
we're not
beginning.
trying
They
to
got a
put
couple-
in
there's some bushes.
bushes and plants throughout the whole parkway. Yeah.
So can I make a motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we haven't, have we closed the public comment?
Yeah, public comments closed. We are only on item 8, just to clarify.
Oh, only on item 8. I thought we were going with item 8 and 9.
No, let's do 8.
Hopefully, we can get through item 9 very quickly because we just discussed it
Well,
for an
then
hour.
I'll go ahead and make a
But-
motion for item number 8 as presented by staff for the proposed amendment.
Commissioner Mandel, I will second that motion.
Okay, so your motion is to approve as presented, so
As
that
presented
is,
For the proposed amendment that they're presenting right here for the,
okay, everybody got that? That's yes to both. A2, sorry, let me look at my notes. C3 to C1, A2 to C1.
yes.
Strange though, on the way it's listed on here.
Yeah, I don't like the way it's written like that, but it's written better when they,
Transportation Master Plan.
It's technically the A2's on Unit 9, or item 9.
Oh,
Right.
is
that's why.
that right?
Well, how are we gonna?
No, hold on. Your A2 for item 9 is just their little squiggly piece. Is the piece on adjacent to Moses's actually in here at all?
No, not the way this reads. This is just the north-south.
So
That's why I wanted to
we're
do
going to
it
have to
in
do
line.
this next meeting, aren't we? Item 9 is for, right.
Okay, we have Marabella reduced from the C3 to a C1, that's the north-south, and then County Road 22 east-west.
But that's only for east of 43, right? Or are you trying to put that?
Then is, yes, because we have to do it for,
And then there's a typo that should have said A2, not C.
Yeah,
so A2, yeah.
that's the problem. But on the actual item, it does not even.
So all of County Road 22 reduction is on item 9.
They're just assuming that they were both C3s. And the way this is written. And that's not a C3.
It just
that's
says,
a
it doesn't
A2.
say multiple.
It says C3.
Y'all have
collector
the, do y'all know what we're voting on? The way I read item 8, we're only voting on the internal
The
street,
north-south.
the north-south.
right now.
That's all I
So
see
we're
on
going to
here.
Item 9.
Item 9 says 2 different streets, C3 Collector Street east of County Road 43 to Dead End, and A2 Arterial Street between County Road and 43. Item 8 only lists 1 street. Buck? Can they, I mean, we know what they want, they just told us,
There's a
so
motion on the floor. We have a second.
her motion would amend to do
wanna
what they
have-
want.
You can ask
Point of order.
staff, I guess you can ask staff
Call the
to
question.
clarify their recommendation if you want.
Well,
To your point, yes.
yeah, please clarify, because her motion is just in general to,
The reason Adam
based on
states
staff.
1 is because his recommendation as a developer was the Marabella Center, the Center Road. We as staff added the additional County Road 22 from 286.
I get that, but did you add it legally in the document that we're voting on? Because we're going to vote, if it's not in there, it doesn't get voted on.
It's a typo. We
No,
have
no,
C2
he's correct. I think he
A2 to
means
C1.
that.
The agenda, it only listed on
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what we're saying. She's voting to recommend
I got you, okay.
what staff's recommending, and what staff's not recommending anything to do with County Road 22 right now, because it's not on here.
The agenda item is just the posting itself. You're not bound to only read what it says on number 8. You can
So-
amend and go off of
I
staff
guess, can we do
recommendation.
this? I don't know if you maybe want to amend your motion and just clarify, so you can include both, if that's what you intended to do?
Yes, I'd like to do that, but see, if this is the one that we're talking about for item number 8, right?
Yeah, item number 8.
Can you show her both?
Okay, so then I make a motion to amend the motion that I had previously, because I have to do that before I make another motion.
I would just withdraw your motion and start
Okay,
over.
then let me withdraw the motion, put it on the record, and now I want to make a motion
Can you pull that on our screen?
on the recommendation for, can I do items 8 and 9?
No.
No, it's
Just
item 8.
Okay, so then.
But if
But it's
I
gonna be
understood
on
you
the-
right, it's for this street from a C3 to C1, and then
From Matabelle Street to be reduced from C3
they're writing
collector
it for
to
you.
C1 collector.
And the other one, if
And
that's what you
cap-
intended, I don't know.
Well, that's what they're recommending, yeah.
Right.
So, and County Road 22 to be reduced. Okay, you're typing. Okay,
Okay.
But it needs to be west of,
east-west.
yeah, but we're reducing the,
Yeah.
never mind, go ahead.
County Road 22,
County Road 22 to be reduced from A2 artillery to a C1 collector.
right. And that's between 286 and 43.
Correct. Because in item 9, they're asking
Right.
for the.
We're going east of 43. I'm with you. I just want to make sure y'all get it in there so it.
This was staff's recommendation.
Okay. We have a motion. Hopefully everybody understands it. Do we have a second?
Commissioner Mandel, I will second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
I will be a no on that as well. The ayes have it. That passes for both of those. Moving on to item 9. Did you get a good nap?
Your beard was brown when you went back there.
Sorry. Did he have a question?
Sorry?
He was pointing at the screen. I don't know if he had a question.
Can we put the schematic up there, like the map, the blue map? I don't know. That's how I'm dividing it up in my mind.
Oh, okay, so we're on item 9, just so you know. Yeah, can you go back to the one with the blue box?
Yes.
Sorry, when we talk, our screens go to the video. Okay, item 9 is the County Road 43 reduction, which staff is recommending denial of. And then it is the green dashed line to the right of County Road 43, which staff is recommending approval of, reducing from C3 to C1. Am I correct on that?
Correct.
And they are recommending denial of reducing County Road 43 from an A2 to a C1. Everybody good?
I'd like to see the full presentation on this. Nah, just kidding.
It's your first slide.
Whatever you have to actually read into the record, please go for it.
I'll keep it short and simple. As I mentioned, my name is Jorge Chavez, Traffic Department, Traffic Engineer. This is item number 9, Kings Lake West Development, the proposed modifications to a C3 collector and an A2 arterial, according to our current transportation master plan. This is our existing transportation master plan. As I mentioned, County Road 43 is an A2 arterial. County Road 22 east of 43 is a C3 collector. Those are the two we're focusing on today. If anyone needs, I can circle here. This one.
I hope we have it by now. Does everybody understand what we're voting on for number 9?
Thank you. I'm sorry. My apologies.
Does anybody have questions on number 9? Okay.
So, and then I'll just skip over to the city's recommendation. As mentioned earlier, we're recommending keeping County Road 43 as an A2 arterial and amending County Road 22 east of 43 from a C3 collector down to a C1 collector.
Okay, thank you. With no questions, I'm going to open up the public hearing. Would anybody like to speak on item 9? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and entertain further discussion or a motion.
I will make a motion. This Commissioner Randall, I make a motion that we approve item 9 as presented by staff.
I second.
All right, got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Is that a real opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Moving on to director's report.
So I did have a 30-minute presentation prepared, but joking. No report tonight.
All right. There are no future agenda items. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.